Cataclismo is a real-time base-building tower defense game that just had its full release on Steam and was recently added to Xbox PC GamePass. Developed by Digital Sun and published by Hooded Horse, it retails for $30 if you don't have Game Pass, and it's currently a PC exclusive. So is Cataclismo worth playing? This review is going to answer that question.
This was our world. Then the Perlas appeared, and everything changed. They revealed a great secret to humanity, a great power, the Pálido. We built ourselves a sublime domain. The Perlas glowed for us. Yet as time passed, we realized everything has a price. You all know what happened next. The Cataclismo.
Let's start the review as we always do by talking about the graphics and technicals of Cataclismo. The game runs really well on PC, even on my mid-tier computer. For anyone wondering, I'm running this game on a 5700 XT, so it's not exactly a graphical powerhouse. The frame rate remained stable throughout my playthrough, I didn't have any bugs or crashes, and I found that it's very well optimized, which is obvious when you have a lot of enemies on screen at once and things are going crazy, but the frame rate didn't budge at all. For graphics, Cataclismo runs on the Unity engine, and while it won't win any awards for its graphics, it's distinct and interesting enough that it kept my attention during my 25-hour playthrough. The game is played from a top-down perspective, with several maps to choose from in multiple play modes, and the campaign itself takes you through a few distinct environments. Overall, the game looks and runs good.
The land was drowned in mist, and from this mist, on pale legs, emerged fresh horror.
Let's dive into the story of Cataclismo. The game takes place in a world that has gone through an apocalypse. The cause of it is sort of unclear, but the people had discovered a source of magic that suddenly went out of control, releasing monsters into the world and covering it in this dangerous mist. The survivors were forced to take refuge in high places, and they eventually founded a city, the last city in the world. It's implied that the monsters are transformed humans or mutated humans, and they attack the city each night. The narrative is told like a story, with the storyteller reading out of a book to an audience. The main character is Iris, who is born with innate magic, and the story is told through her eyes. Without spoiling anything, the narrative is pretty bare bones and serves as a way to get the player out of the city and exploring the landscape and fighting back against horrors in 17 campaign chapters, although some of these chapters are really short and just has Iris discovering secrets regarding the world she lives in and not much else. Overall, the story is simple but serviceable, and while it isn't exactly memorable, it leaves enough for the player to want to complete it, while leaving room for sequels and spin-offs.
That night, Iris defended the city gates from the horrors of the mist. With her peers in the Order, our sworn defenders. Yet, this was not the first time Ogar stood against its enemies.
Okay, now let's dive into the gameplay. Cataclismo is part tower defense, part city builder, and part RTS. The missions typically involve enemies coming from multiple directions, indicated by red markers on the screen. You'll have a short amount of time to get your defenses ready, building high walls and stationing troops on them, getting your resources together and your economy functioning to gather stone, wood, oxygen, and metals to pay for everything. Once the day ends and night comes, enemies will flood in from the direction indicated, and it's your goal to stop them from reaching the citadel at the center of your base. You can quickly replace walls and buildings. You can only build in areas with no enemies, so sometimes you have to abandon a line of defense to the enemies and quickly make a new one behind it. Your resources stop coming in at night, so whatever supply of stone and wood you have, that's all you get until morning. You have a troop limit that can be raised by spending resources, advanced buildings to upgrade your units, your walls, and your buildings. But the entire game is about this juggling act for the need of high walls, trained troops, and getting the resources for them. If you focus on just one aspect of the game over the other, for example, getting too much resource and economy going, and then neglecting your troops or your walls, you're going to lose. On the other hand, not having a good enough town means that you're going to be lacking when it comes to your units and your walls. The higher a wall is, the stronger it gets, and by adding additional windows and other things to them, the quality of it increases. Enemies will come to your town and attack your walls, chipping away at them, and once a piece breaks, everything that's supported above it is going to crumble to the ground, and any units you have stationed on that wall will also fall. Units themselves come in a few different types, all with different ranges and height preferences. Some get bonuses for being way up high, while others prefer to be closer to the ground. The enemies you face aren't just a mass of weak creatures either, they improve as the game goes on. gaining armor, spawning smaller creatures, or blowing up everything around them and taking the wall out with them when they do explode. The most important aspect of Cataclismo, and my one critique of the game, is the fact that everything is on a time limit. You only have so many minutes to build your town, upgrade your defenses, and train your troops. Each mission in the campaign takes place over 3 nights, with each getting progressively harder. It makes everything feel very rushed, and I found that I never felt satisfied with what I had built before the sun set. I always thought that I had too few units, that my walls were poorly positioned and not high enough, and that my economy was lacking. Even though I made it through each night without too much trouble, I found that the balance between your defenses, your base building, and your economy was never perfect, and I feel that more patches or updates are required to really nail that balance. Wedged between these defense missions are classic tower defense missions where you have to stop enemies from reaching a goal, but you can't block their path like you can in the main game, so you need to position your troops correctly to just wipe them out. Then there are the story-driven missions that have eras exploring a map, sometimes alone or sometimes with other units, and the focus is on building bridges or solving navigation puzzles to succeed.
Bring her in. Call her Edie's.
So, the Scholars of the Ivory adopted the girl as their own child. And she grew like any other. Slowly, but steadily. Always carrying her book, filled with stories from the past. But Iris was not any other child. As soon as the scholars allowed it, she became a chief defender of the city.
Alright, let's go into the pros and cons of Cataclismo. For the pros, the game runs really well on PC with no bugs, glitches, or FPS drops. It has a full campaign along with an endless defense mode and skirmish scenarios that take place on maps over 4 nights. The concept of building your base is good, and building walls is so creative and fun that I spent hours perfecting my defenses while having the game paused. The best part is that you can just recycle your pieces without losing that resources, allowing you to try different things and different builds. For the cons, the game's time limit makes each mission feel like you're in a time crunch, and it's hard to balance the economy and the defenses. Some of the later game missions can be annoying with enemies coming from many directions, and it almost becomes trial and error to succeed. And that's it for another review. So is Cataclismo worth playing, whether through PC GamePass or through Steam for $30 US? Yes, it is, with a campaign that's going to take you about 15 to 25 hours and a few other game modes for replayability. You're going to get your money's worth with Cataclismo. I'm the Casual Console Gamer, and I'll see you all in the next review.